In this episode, you'll receive a breakdown of the quote, "There cannot be any motive in relationship to silence." Welcome to Energy Alignment for Entrepreneurs, the podcast helping entrepreneurs be free from anxiety, stress, and tension through balancing emotions and consciousness expansion. 3 things you'll discover today. How to accept the essence of a trigger. Why it's important to not judge yourself for getting triggered, and what to do if it's obvious you're out of balance. So let's start with the quote. There cannot be any motive in relationship to silence. What does the word motive mean, right? Because there's a book that was pretty powerful for me, and that book is The Power of Intention by Dr. Wayne Dyer. But intention and motive also have a skew. The nuance between motive and intention would be something of a intention is a deeper asking to let yourself live a correct life, and then being open to hearing what you need to change to live that correct life. So intention is extraordinarily subtle, whereas motive is like, I want. And I have a quote on the wall which says, I want never gets. Because to want, to have a motive, is to be moving from a place of scarcity. Now, you see many business people who have motives who do well. And that is because not all of this world is going to be super mysterious. There are some things that are quite straightforward. Whereas, for example, 1 plus 1 equals 2. Same thing with man-made inventions. They can be extraordinarily simple. Where even the creation of a bridge, right? There's nothing super mystical or beyond words that has to happen for engineers to create a blueprint and then construction to execute the blueprint that the engineers created. There does need to be invention and thought and strategic thinking, 100%. But when we're speaking about motive in relationship to silence and inner peace, that's where the man-made inventions, the creations of the mind, don't necessarily go hand in hand. Because the field of your internal world isn't ran solely by the mind. Right? If you look at a skeleton and then you look at a human nervous system and then you look at all the organs, right? We don't beat our hearts. We don't choose to blink our eyes all the time, although you can do it manually. So what we're looking at here is that space of, okay, there's obviously something that created this world that is extraordinarily intelligent, but it also created thought. It created the mind, the gut, and the heart. So how do we create a symbiosis, right? How does a synchronicity between that internal intelligence and that inventive mind come together? And that's where there can't be a motive for the inner working to be revealed. But when you start to notice that you have awareness of yourself, like the I, the me, its ambitions, its wants, you can watch all of that work in your mind. So then it gets interesting. And that's where you can't have a motive, right? If you have a motive to make money and then you execute the plan to make money, you can also see what that does to you if that's the place that you're solely living within. If you're always living within that place of just external, right? And there isn't a internal expansion, then there is a lack of balance, and that always comes back to bite you. Because many people, right, they build a business, but deep, deep down, they're building a business so that they can get what they think they wanted, but what you actually want isn't what you need. And they just don't have that holistic connection to understand that all. So then they get what they want, they think that that's going to make them happy, but then they're still not happy because only the external world has been pleased through motive. And I feel one of the hardest things for humans to do is create that balance where you do create a beautiful external life and you do that in a aligned manner so you get what you want and you get what you need. But then you also realize getting more of what you want, right? Like the bigger car, the different color. Hey, right now I only have a 300 horsepower car. I will find myself enjoying a 500, 700 horsepower car in the future. I can guarantee you that. But I already see that getting that next horsepower, that new color, is not going to be the meaning to my life. That's never going to be something that is the root to why I'm here. And more humans are naturally going to wake up to this to see that the external world is extraordinarily shallow, yet profound simultaneously. It's just about how you move through it. And there are some people out there, like natives in the jungles, people who are less connected to technology. They have more of this internal awakening. But we in America, in right, the first world, whatever, with all the technology, we have such a external advance and it's beautiful, but there's going to come a point, right? We're seeing it now. AI and technology is starting to advance. It's been doing this, but it's speeding up more and more. And we're going to get to a point where it's like, okay, humans, it's time to look inside. That's why people like me are here. I am not special. If the whole world was just like me, it wouldn't work. Because I'm like the type of guy who I'll draw the big blueprint for the universe, but I don't want to be building a bridge. I just don't feel that's my place. Inevitably, we'll have robots to do the things that a lot of humans are doing now, so that humans can really understand that life is about internal relationship and how you move, what energy you carry, so that we're not so go, 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 do, do, do. There will be a point, and it's coming, where humans only have to work like a couple hours a day or even less because so much has been outsourced to the robots. And that means that it's going to be a stepping into the golden age, a full awakening for humanity. Whereas it's only natural when humans have leisure and they can no longer run from what they are and they have to be silent with themselves, right? Everyone has the option to distract themselves. So that's the big precipice, the cliff, if you will, is what happens when humanity has so much more time and leisure. Are we just numbskulls? And then do we turn into those like kind of fat, obese people who are just riding wheelchairs, obese, unhealthy? Or are we a creation of a real golden age where humans feel energetically and there's a symbiosis, there's a continuous communion between every human being because everyone has awakened to their true nature. Now, I'm not here to like predict this. I don't know what's going to happen. But all I can tell you is you can feel what you're creating. And if there's a motive in relationship to internal expansion, that's your mind corrupting it. And hey, what can you do? Just notice that your mind's ambitious, right? It's like, what are you doing when you're meditating? You have an idea that you need to meditate, so you discipline yourself by force. Then you sit down routinely, mechanically, and then you try to focus on your breath. And I'm not saying focusing on your breath is bad. That's not at all the point. I'm just saying that meditation as a forced practice, it's not going to get you any closer to the thing which you're seeking because you're seeking. It's like somehow, some way, there has to be a crack where you realize, wait, I'm trying too hard for this. I'm trying too hard to be like a saint, or I'm trying too hard to have a peaceful life. And then you'll get a little messy because you'll realize, like, wait, okay, too much discipline, it's too mechanical. And then you'll have to be a bit looser. But then if you're too loose, then you lose that awareness and you won't have that relationship with others and yourself where things are just beautiful, like you're flowing in the current and you can always sense the changes in the current. And this is why I can't give you step by step, do this. But ultimately, here, let's zoom through the points quick because that quote stirred me up. how to accept the essence of a trigger. So, to accept the essence of a trigger, it's almost like, well, what am I feeling in this moment? And if you can feel that thing and then notice the words you use and kind of look at, okay, but how am I saying those words? Like, what's the tone, the cadence, even if you're thinking? Like, how does your thinking sound? And one of the very practical things that I like is if and you feel trapped, start talking aloud to yourself because it's so much easier to notice your energy when you're exerting it physically, when you're speaking it. The power of your speech is magnificent. And that's why I don't speak super fast all the time. When you're speaking like that, you're not actually feeling what you're creating. You can feel your heart tense up almost when you're just talking to talk or you're so go, go, go. And you can learn about people and how they feel about themselves by seeing what words they use, what tone of voice, what cadence. Are they always speaking in a predictable manner? Do they change things up? Do they step back? Do they question, laugh at themselves, etc.? Because that awareness is the game. Just feeling, okay, there is something deeper here, and I can sense it, I can feel it. So you accept the essence of the trigger by shining light, by looking honestly, without a need to get out of the trigger, without seeking to overcome the trigger, but more of a real natural internal, like, what is this thing? How am I working? It's very gentle, but it's also, you can be sharp too. It's a balance, it's dynamic, it's ever changing. Now, why it's important to not judge yourself for getting triggered. Because if you get triggered, it's actually not a bad thing. What makes the trigger tough is when you're not aware that you're triggered and then you create wildfires from a confused state of being. But if you can notice that you're confused and realize that you need to create leisure naturally, maybe that's through silence, maybe that's through a walk, maybe that's through sitting down crisscross and breathing a little bit. Whatever you come to in that moment, that's what you need to do to not judge yourself, right? Because it's a win. It's a win to get triggered and then not create more fires because you notice you're triggered. So just start there and do that work. There's nothing wrong with noticing that you have friction or that you're tense or that you're over-caffeinated or etc. That's important to do to self-reflect genuinely. Now, what to do if it's obvious you're out of balance, right? Let's say you drink too much coffee. And for me, this is the size of coffee cup I have. And sorry, I know you can't see that, but it's a very small cup. Why? Well, it's okay to have caffeine. I'm not going to villainize things. You do what you want. Same thing with alcohol, whatever. You do what you want because the human mind, the nature of learning, I'm not here to tell you what to do. You need to be your own authority, and therefore there's nothing to conform to. There's no boss. There's no teacher. I may say things that help you. That may very well be true. But what type of teacher actually seeks the label or the title of being a teacher? Like, no. It's just natural. Hey, if anyone here truly resonates with anything I've said today, I appreciate it. I need you to listen, right? So we're a team. And when you're really clear that you're out of balance, then look at those simple fundamentals which create that imbalance. It's really hard to be in balance if you're honest with yourself, if you eat good, if you exercise, if you write, if you don't always flood yourself with stimulation. Like for me, my greatest days are when I'm speaking, recording, writing, and I'm not on my phone. I'm not watching TV. I'm not consuming stimulus besides like water, food, and maybe a little caffeine or some tobacco. You find what works for you. But for me, it's like, hey, let's keep this thing simple. I don't need all this mental clutter. I'm very much like done with that. So thank you so much for listening. And new episodes are out every Monday, Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. Click the link in the description below. You'll get all the details on how I can potentially help you be free from anxiety, stress, and tension so you can stop feeling empty inside.